Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Wednesday, November 27, 2024.
Sri Lanka launches bond swap for economic recovery. On November 26, 2024, Sri Lanka launched a bond swap as part of a $12.55 billion debt restructuring effort. This move comes after the country defaulted on foreign debt for the first time in May 2022, due to a high debt burden and dwindling foreign reserves. Bondholders have until December 12, 2024, to vote on the proposal, which includes new bonds that adjust payments based on economic growth. President Dissanayake described this announcement as a significant milestone for the nation's economic future. The bond swap aims to cut the government's debt service payments by about $9.5 billion during the International Monetary Fund program. The political situation is complex, as Disanayake's administration took office with promises to cut taxes and review the International Monetary Fund program, raising concerns about the previous agreements with bondholders. Nevertheless, Dissanayake has committed to moving forward with the bond swap, which is crucial for stabilizing the economy and rebuilding investor confidence.
Global rise in protective industrial policies. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or EBRD, has released a report showing a significant rise in protective industrial policies around the world. These policies are designed to support local industries and often give an advantage to domestic companies over foreign ones. The report analyzes data from 140 countries and finds that 90% of these policies in advanced economies favor local interests. Since 2019, many countries have adopted these strategies, driven by the need for economic recovery and increasing public support for government involvement in the economy. While these state-backed grants and subsidies can help local economies, they may also lead to trade conflicts and harm poorer nations. Concerns are growing about the risk of economic fragmentation as countries adjust to these changes.
Britain's plans for electric vehicles by 2030. Britain will launch a consultation on its zero-emission vehicle regulations. The government is committed to the 2030 deadline for ending the sale of new petrol and diesel cars. This decision aims to gather input from the automotive industry to support the shift to electric vehicles. The consultation will ensure that the views of industry leaders are taken into account. This initiative is part of Britain's effort to tackle climate change and encourage cleaner transportation.
Trump's Project 2025 takes shape. President-elect Trump has announced key appointments related to Project 2025, a conservative initiative focused on shaping U.S. policy. This project features a 900-page book of policy proposals developed by numerous conservatives. The Heritage Foundation, a prominent right-wing think tank, oversees the initiative. Notable appointees include Russ Vought, the incoming budget director, and Tom Homan, the new border czar. Proposed policies address various issues, including education and social matters, with some controversial suggestions such as eliminating the Department of Education and restricting access to abortion pills. These developments raise important questions about the future direction of the U.S. government.
General Electric settles shareholder lawsuit for $362.5 million. General Electric, based in Evandale, Ohio, has agreed to pay $362.5 million to settle a shareholder lawsuit. This lawsuit, filed in 2017, accused the company of concealing risks associated with its power business. Shareholders claimed that General Electric misled them about financial matters, resulting in significant losses. The settlement is pending approval from a judge in New York. This situation underscores the ongoing challenges faced by General Electric as it seeks to rebuild trust with investors.
Wall Street banks profit from increased trading in Israeli assets. Leading investment banks are set to report their highest revenue in 5 years from trading Israeli currency and bonds. This surge comes from market volatility linked to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, which has lasted for 14 months. In 2024, banks are expected to generate approximately $475 million from trading activities related to Israel, marking an increase of over 10% compared to last year. JP Morgan is projected to be the biggest winner, with an estimated $70 million in earnings from these trades. The Israeli shekel has seen significant price swings, providing traders with new opportunities. The continuing conflicts have also resulted in rising inflation and higher borrowing costs in Israel.
Eurex plans EU bond futures launch in 2025. Eurex, a division of Deutsche Börse, is set to launch a futures contract for European Union bonds in 2025. This announcement comes after an assessment of market conditions and the EU's bond program, which could extend beyond 2026. The EU plans to raise over €700 billion for COVID-19 recovery, establishing itself as a major player in global bond markets. The new futures contract is expected to improve trading options for investors. This news arrives as the Intercontinental Exchange, which owns the New York Stock Exchange, prepares to introduce its own futures contract for EU bonds next month.
TotalEnergies pauses investment in Adani Green. TotalEnergies, a French energy company, has paused its investment in Adani Green Energy, an Indian renewable energy firm. This decision comes in light of a U.S. bribery investigation involving Gautam Adani, the billionaire founder of the Adani Group. TotalEnergies, which owns a 19.8% stake in Adani Green, will not finance any new projects until there is more clarity on the investigation. This development raises concerns about the future of renewable energy investments in India.
Saudi Arabia's 2025 budget forecasts deficit. Saudi Arabia has approved its budget for 2025, forecasting a fiscal deficit of 101 billion rials, which is approximately $26.88 billion. This deficit accounts for about 2.3% of the country's gross domestic product. Finance Minister Mohammed Al-Jadaan announced that the government will continue investing in large-scale projects as part of the Vision 2030 initiative aimed at diversifying the economy away from oil dependence. The total expenditure for 2025 is projected at 1.285 trillion rials, while total revenue is estimated at 1.184 trillion rials. The budget reflects ongoing challenges due to declining oil prices and outlines plans to secure funding through local and international sources. The Public Investment Fund, which aims to manage 4 trillion rials by 2025, will play a crucial role in financing these initiatives. Overall, the budget underscores Saudi Arabia's commitment to economic reform and diversification, despite the fiscal challenges presented by fluctuating oil revenues.
Gold prices drop amid geopolitical tensions. Gold prices dropped to a week's low on November 26, 2024, as optimism grew over a potential ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, a militant group in Lebanon. The spot price of gold was $2,626.82 per ounce, following a significant decline of $100 the day before. Ongoing concerns about the situation in Ukraine and proposed tariffs by U.S. President-elect Trump also affected the market. Analysts predict that gold prices will fluctuate between $2,575 and $2,750 in the near term. In the precious metals market, silver saw a slight increase, while platinum experienced a decline.
Cleo Capital launches Cybersecurity Accelerator. Cleo Capital has launched a new cybersecurity accelerator to help startups tackle online threats. The program will invest $250,000 for a 7% equity stake in each selected company. Up to 10 companies will be chosen for this remote program, which lasts 12 weeks and starts on February 24, 2025. Applications are due by January 20, 2025. This initiative comes in response to a significant rise in cybercrime, with Americans losing over $12.5 billion in 2023. Founder Sarah Kunst aims to drive innovation in cybersecurity by supporting solutions that protect consumers from scams and fraud.
Inflection AI shifts focus to enterprise solutions. Inflection AI has announced a major change in direction. The company will stop developing advanced artificial intelligence models and will instead focus on providing solutions for businesses. This shift comes after Microsoft acquired a significant part of Inflection AI, including former CEO Mustafa Suleyman, for $650 million. Inflection AI has also acquired 3 startups to strengthen its offerings for enterprise customers. New CEO Sean White believes that current artificial intelligence models can meet the needs of most businesses today. The Federal Trade Commission is investigating the Microsoft deal to ensure fair competition in the artificial intelligence market.
Greece advocates for stronger EU defense cooperation. On November 26, 2024, Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis called for the European Union to strengthen its defense capabilities and enhance cooperation with NATO during discussions in Athens. This appeal comes in response to security concerns following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Mitsotakis pointed out that Greece spends about 3% of its gross domestic product on defense, which is higher than the EU average of 1.9%. The EU's total defense budget is expected to reach around €326 billion, or about $342 billion, in 2024. Greece is also looking to invest in military reforms and has proposed a €2 billion deal for a new defense system with Israel. Mitsotakis stressed the importance of ongoing support for Ukraine and highlighted Greece's role in training Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets.
Mexican fintech startup secures funding amid trade concerns. Solvento, a fintech startup based in Mexico, has successfully raised $12.5 million in a funding round led by the venture capital firm Comida. This funding comes at a time when concerns are rising about potential tariffs from the incoming U.S. President Trump. Solvento offers financial services to trucking companies in Mexico, enhancing transparency and cash flow in the industry. The fintech sector in Latin America is seeing significant growth, with $2.6 billion invested in 2024, marking a notable increase from last year. Other regional companies, like Cardless and Store Cash, have also announced substantial funding rounds. These developments show that despite challenges, the fintech industry in Mexico and Latin America remains attractive for investment and innovation.
U.S. awards $7.86 billion subsidy to Intel. The U.S. Commerce Department has finalized a $7.86 billion subsidy for Intel to boost semiconductor manufacturing. This funding will support nearly $90 billion in manufacturing projects across several states, including Arizona, New Mexico, Ohio, and Oregon. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo highlighted the aim of producing American-designed chips with American workers. The subsidy was reduced from an earlier $8.5 billion because Intel received a separate $3 billion contract from the Pentagon. This funding is part of a broader effort to strengthen domestic semiconductor production and enhance national security. The finalized award includes restrictions on stock buybacks for 5 years and provisions for sharing excess profits. Intel also plans to claim a Treasury investment tax credit, expected to be up to 25% of qualified investments over $100 billion. This subsidy marks the 6th award finalized under this initiative, with more expected in the coming weeks.
Bolivia secures $1 billion investment from China for lithium extraction. On November 26, 2024, Bolivia's government announced a major agreement with the Chinese consortium CBC, which includes the battery manufacturer CATL. This deal involves a $1 billion investment to build 2 lithium extraction plants in the Uyuni Salt Flat in southwest Bolivia. The Bolivian government will own a 51% stake in the project, which aims to produce a total of 35,000 metric tons of lithium each year. Production will be divided between 2 facilities. One plant is expected to generate 10,000 tons of lithium carbonate annually, while the other will produce 25,000 tons of battery-grade lithium carbonate per year. Omar Alarcon, head of the state-run lithium company YLB, stated that CBC will cover the costs and risks of constructing and operating these plants. Despite having the world's largest lithium resources, Bolivia has struggled to attract significant investment due to its unstable political climate. The country is preparing for a presidential election next year, adding uncertainty to foreign investments. Additionally, Bolivia signed a contract in September with Russia's Uranium One Group for a $970 million plant that aims to produce 14,000 tons of lithium carbonate annually, pending congressional approval. President Arce mentioned that the government is actively seeking more international companies to invest in Bolivia's lithium sector, with interest coming from various countries beyond just Russia and China.
South Korea invests in semiconductor industry. South Korea will invest 14 trillion won, which is about $10 billion to support its semiconductor industry. This funding will provide low-interest loans to companies facing competition from China. Of this amount, 1.8 trillion won, or roughly $1.34 billion, will be used to build power lines for a new chip complex in Yongin and Pyeongtaek. This complex is set to become the largest high-tech chip-making area in the world. The government aims for this support to help local companies enhance their competitiveness in the global market, addressing the challenges posed by rapid advancements in China's semiconductor sector.
Federal Reserve considers lowering repo rate. Policymakers at the Federal Reserve are looking into the possibility of lowering the overnight reverse repurchase agreement rate, which is currently at 4.55%. This rate is important for managing the federal funds rate, the interest that banks charge each other for overnight loans. Earlier this month, the Federal Open Market Committee held a meeting in San Francisco, California, to discuss this potential change. Analysts from Citigroup believe a decision could come in December or January. A reduction in this rate could boost liquidity in financial markets and affect borrowing costs for both consumers and businesses.
Trump team signs transition agreement with Biden administration. On November 26, 2024, in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump's transition team signed a formal memorandum of understanding with the Biden administration. This agreement allows Trump's team to officially start the transition process and coordinate directly with federal agencies. The signing comes after several weeks of delays that raised concerns about the functioning of government operations. Susie Wiles, chief of staff for Trump, stated that this agreement facilitates preparations for the new cabinet members. Notably, Trump's team opted not to sign a government ethics pledge, instead presenting their own ethics plan, which will not require background checks from the FBI. Despite some disagreements, the Biden administration intends to proceed with the transition to ensure a smooth transfer of power.
Quebec petition for free contraception gains support. A petition in Quebec, Canada, for free access to contraception has gathered nearly 100,000 signatures. Presented by Ruba Guzzle from the Quebec Solidaire Party, this movement gained traction following the recent re-election of Donald Trump, which sparked concerns about women's rights. The petition points out that 40% of pregnancies in Canada are unplanned, resulting in significant public costs. The estimated cost to implement free contraception is about 48 million Canadian dollars, while potential savings could reach 71 million Canadian dollars. The Quebec government is required to respond to the petition by the end of January 2025. This initiative highlights the increasing demand for improved access to reproductive health care in the province.
Clashes in Bangladesh over Hindu leader's arrest. On November 26, 2024, violent clashes erupted in Bangladesh after the arrest of Hindu leader Chinmoy Das. His arrest occurred at Dhaka airport on November 25, leading to protests in both Dhaka and Chittagong. Supporters claim the charges against him, including sedition, are politically motivated. During the protests, a Muslim lawyer was killed outside a court in Chittagong. The Bangladeshi government has launched an investigation into this incident and reiterated its commitment to ensuring communal harmony. The Indian government condemned the arrest, raising concerns about the safety of Hindus and minorities in Bangladesh. These events underscore the ongoing tensions between different religious communities in the country.
FTC warns about smart device support issues. A new report from the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, shows that many smart device manufacturers do not clearly communicate how long their products will receive software updates. The FTC reviewed 184 smart devices, including security cameras and hearing aids, and found that nearly 89% lack transparency about support duration. This can create significant problems for consumers, as devices may stop working properly if updates are not provided. Samuel Levine, the director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, pointed out that consumers could face financial losses if their smart devices become outdated. The FTC recommends that shoppers ask about software support before making a purchase. If manufacturers do not provide this information, they may be violating consumer protection laws. This report highlights the urgent need for transparency in the smart device market, especially as consumers increasingly rely on these products in their everyday lives.
Canada plans changes to refugee system. On November 26, 2024, Canada's Immigration Minister Mark Miller announced plans to reform the refugee system. The proposed changes may expedite the rejection of asylum claims that appear unlikely to succeed. This announcement comes as Canada faces a record number of refugee claims, with more than 260,000 cases pending. Experts express concerns that these changes could undermine the rights of asylum seekers. Prime Minister Trudeau has also adjusted the government's approach to immigration, vowing to reduce the number of new arrivals. Advocates for migrants are urging for improved resources to address the increasing backlog of claims.
Workday revenue forecast falls short. Workday, located in Pleasanton, California, has announced a fourth-quarter subscription revenue forecast that is below expectations. The company expects revenue of $2.03 billion, while Wall Street had estimated $2.04 billion. This news caused Workday's shares to drop by over 10% in after-hours trading. The decline in revenue is linked to weaker client spending on software, as many companies are cutting technology budgets due to high interest rates and a slowing job market. Workday faces stiff competition from larger firms like Automatic Data Processing and Paycom. In its latest earnings report, Workday reported total revenue of $2.16 billion for the third quarter, exceeding expectations of $2.13 billion. The company's subscription revenue for that quarter was $1.96 billion, which matched analyst forecasts. Adjusted earnings per share were $1.89, surpassing estimates of $1.76. Additionally, Workday has appointed Rob Enslin, a former executive at UiPath and Google, as the new president and chief commercial officer to help tackle these challenges.
Elon Musk challenges InfoWars account transfer. Elon Musk, the CEO of X Corporation, has objected to the transfer of social media accounts from InfoWars to The Onion. This transfer comes after The Onion won a bankruptcy auction for InfoWars and its assets. A federal judge has temporarily stopped the sale of these accounts. Musk's legal team claims that X Corporation owns all accounts on its platform, including those associated with Alex Jones and InfoWars. This situation raises significant questions about the ownership of social media accounts and the ongoing debates surrounding free speech.
Bolsonaro accused in coup plot investigation. On November 26, 2024, Brazil's federal police presented a report to the Supreme Court, alleging that former President Jair Bolsonaro was involved in a plot to overturn the results of the 2022 presidential election. This extensive 884-page report includes evidence from wiretaps, financial records, and testimonies from plea bargains. It claims that Bolsonaro not only planned a coup but also discussed an assassination plot against President-elect Lula. A total of 37 individuals have been formally accused in this case. These developments complicate Bolsonaro's hopes of running for president again in 2026, as recent political events have increased scrutiny of his actions.
Peru's Congress removes energy minister amid protests. On November 26, 2024, Peru's Congress voted to remove Energy and Mines Minister Romulo Mucho after protests from small-scale miners. These miners are seeking a 2-year extension for a temporary operating program that allows them to operate legally, which is set to expire on December 31. The congressional panel that made the decision included 80 legislators, with only 4 opposing the removal. President Dina Boluarte must appoint a new minister within 72 hours. This decision could have a significant impact on the mining sector, which plays a vital role in Peru's economy.
Romania's budget deficit concerns. Romania is facing a budget deficit expected to hit 8% of gross domestic product, GDP, in 2024, raising alarms among financial markets. A recent increase in spending ahead of the presidential and parliamentary elections set for December 2024 adds to these concerns. The country has submitted a 7-year plan to the European Union, EU, to reduce the deficit below the EU's 3% limit, but some investors worry this plan may take too long to execute. Political changes after the elections could greatly influence fiscal policies and tax decisions. Romania's public debt is currently at 50% of GDP, which is deemed manageable, but the country has one of the lowest tax revenues in Europe. The results of the upcoming elections will be critical for Romania's economic future.
Australia proposes social media ban for children. On November 27, 2024, a Senate committee in Australia backed a bill to ban social media for children under 16 years old. This proposed legislation aims to establish strict age verification rules for social media platforms. The government, led by Prime Minister Albanese, is working to pass this bill quickly, with strong support from the opposition Liberal Party. Growing concerns about children's safety online have prompted this action. If approved, the law could impose fines of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars, about 31.2 million United States dollars, on companies that fail to comply. Major tech firms, including Google and Meta, have raised concerns about the swift progress of this legislation.
Trump considers AI czar appointment. Donald Trump, the incoming president of the United States, is considering appointing an AI czar to manage artificial intelligence policy in the White House. This role would coordinate federal regulations and the use of AI technology. The AI czar would not need Senate confirmation, which would allow for quicker policy implementation. This position may also be paired with a potential crypto czar. Input from key figures like Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, and Vivek Ramaswamy, co-leader of the organization known as Doge, is expected in the selection process. The creation of an AI czar underscores the growing significance of artificial intelligence in government discussions. That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.